Let's get right into it. So, I'm working through the Fast AI lesson 2 right now, and I think there's a little bit of code rot on a few of the examples, which, I mean, it's a awesome and free lesson, so I'm not complaining, but just maybe this can help you overcome some of the issues I had. So, let's go to the main issue I had was when I was trying to create a let's say Gradio ready or Hugging Face ready Python code from a notebook. I really like to be able to generate code and not have to duplicate it and copy and paste. But the example that exports it seems to be behind the library version, the current library version of, I believe, nbdev. Yes, it is. So here's what I did. You need this default export and then give it whatever name you want, and then export as described in the lesson. These are the cells that you want to actually go into your actual where is it app.py here, into the code that you actually want to upload the Hugging Face to be your backend for your little space. So in total, the default underscore ex hash pipe default x underscore exp app hash pipe export on the things you want to go into your exported file. And then at the very end, I have this, the import nbdev notebook dev, which I assume is getting us this newer version than what we have in the lesson. And then nbdev export nb underscore export, name of the source Python notebook and the directory where you want it generated. And that works for me. Let me know if you have any issues with that in the comments. I was just using the default version that I got with pip, so if you have older versions, then maybe it would just work the old way. So that's the quick fix for, I think that's it, right? Yeah, that's the quick fix for that issue. Another thing I ran into, and I'm taking now that we got that main blocker out of the way, I'm taking the recommendation on lesson 2 to kind of create, instead of a blog, creating a little bit of a vlog. Maybe I'll, go through each lesson, any things that I got stuck on, because that's what my life doing is fixing software. One of the other things that I definitely need to pay attention to here, since I have a lot of classifications, my data set that I'm working on is speedometer readings on aircraft, analog ones, so like something like that. And I do have a data set here if anyone's interested in playing around with it. I have a lot of classes, and the order was wrong by default from what I was expecting. I was expecting alphanumeric, or I guess in this case numeric sorting, and it didn't. It does. What is this? Is this alphanumeric? This the tens first, the hundreds first, whatever that is. I had to get that from the learner data loaders vocab, which I think is covered later in like lesson 3 or part of lesson 2. And then with the right categories, my Hugging Face space got the right results. Otherwise, I was getting like the same wrong result repetitively for every speed. Was always the wrong. It was some offset to like, and I was like, what's going on? Obviously, it's working locally. Let's see. So yeah, for example, like this 120 was always like 85 or something, no matter what I did. So I was like, okay, so maybe my vocab is off in this case. And it was. So, check that vocab, get your categories right when you pass them to whoever uses the classify images. Yeah, it's this guy, the Gradio call, which uses the classify images. So that lets us properly sort our classes. All right, so that's class sorting. Next thing I ran into, which I still have not solved this. I tried to use the new Gradio JavaScript front end with their example. If you go here, where's my brain? There it is. API. So they don't give curl examples anymore, which makes sense. You're not going to use curl in production. Generally, it's just for testing. Well, depends. I've seen code and written code with that, but anyway, the API now uses this JavaScript format. Now I'm not even on JavaScript, so let's go to JavaScript here. So we're importing this client from Gradio client, and we're calling the API using this JavaScript library, which does not work. I tried it a bunch of times, a bunch of ways. I tried it first in like JS Fiddle or something like that. That didn't work. Couldn't get the Gradio package. I'm not an expert front engineer, so if I'm saying stuff wrong about front end stuff, just let me know. That didn't work, so then I was like, okay, let me run it on Node on the back end. Seems like this is kind of what this is tailored for. You know, you're not really going to do a cross request on your serious front end with your JavaScript is calling out to the Hugging Face space. You probably want your back end to actually do that call, so it's, you know, you don't deal with a bunch of cross origins. That's what I think. So I tried. I'll show you what I did. I got it like almost halfway sort of working. So import it. I looked up a bunch of fixes to some of these import issues I had. You have to call it an MJS file in order for Node to accept it as a module, which you need to be able to use these types of imports, which I believe are called ES6 style imports. I was able to import it, and then I had some of these other fixes that seem to be required for my crawling of the internet to not get any stack traces or anything. But when I call either to predict or the submit, which is a more advanced way to call the API, that does not work. I'll show you what I get. And if anyone knows what's going on, please drop into the comments and let me know, because let's see, cannot find module. I'm in the wrong library. I'm in the wrong directory. Node. It'd be funny if I'm not even recording audio or something. This is like the first time I've done an instructive video on this. I think I did one on like fixing the rear brakes of a E39. This is the last video that I seriously uploaded years ago. Node. URL argument must be type string, and then I went and fixed this by patching the actual radio code, and then it just said, oh, your call, you know, there was an internal, looks like a fast API or Pythonic. What's the library that fast API uses? I want to say Pythagoras. It's the one that does the type jet, like the model management for it. And it looks like there's errors because I wasn't passing in like the image blob, but it's there. I'm pulling it, so whatever. Anyway, so if anyone has any ideas on the JavaScript part, I could dive deeper into this if anyone's interested. Maybe we can get it running. I don't know. Let's see. And if anyone, just for context, what am I working on for my lessons? So yeah, I created that test data set of, not this one. Where is it? Yeah, there we go. Speedometer readings. So that's going to be like my toy example to go through lessons for visual stuff. And all I did, pretty simple, you know, using the code that is provided in the lesson. I kind of copied and pasted just what I needed out of the is it a bird classifier. Created my own notebook from that. You know, prep the data, this is just a shortened version of the bird data loader work. Here's my images. It looks great. I usually have to do way more epochs, but I'm just doing 5 for example here because I don't have that much data. I have like some of my buckets of classes. I only have like 3 or 4 images, so it takes a long time with a lot of augmentations. As you can see here, I just avoid flipping because I think that throws off the classification. I can get losses down to about 0.3, I think, which is okay. Definitely not doing great in absolute terms, but I don't know. I was happy to see it classifying fairly well, and then one thing that helped me understand how bad or good my classifications were was use confusion matrix. This thing's amazingly useful. As you can see, the error is fairly high right now, but in general, after training for like 50 epochs, I'll get it so it's mostly along this this diagonal line, with maybe some errors that are like just slightly off if these were actually sorted numerically, which are not. So usually when it makes mistakes that are slightly off, like 1 or 2 buckets away. And then yes, this was all very helpful stuff from the lesson, using it to plot your top losses, see where you're making the biggest, most confident mistakes, and then the export, just to export that pickle file. So export to pickle, and then go to the inference notebook, and yeah, basically just stole this all from the lesson 2 work, where we get Gradio. Obviously this is all covered in the course, but this is just a highly summarized version of that. And I already went over to classifications, which is the categories, which was actually the main thing that threw me off there. And then the Gradio interface, obviously it's running in Hugging Face right now, and it works reasonably well. Yeah, I think that's everything worth covering. Oh, one last thing. I don't know if you kind of an unusual way maybe for some people coming from the course, how I manage my Python versions. I don't have to use VMs. What I do use is a dev container in VS Code. So this is where I install my packages. This is where I install my pip packages. And since it's all isolated, I don't have to worry about destroying my Python environment. Same reasoning behind using Conda or Mamba or VMs. It's just everything is in a container, so it's all isolated. I'm not going to destroy my system Python. If anyone's interested, I can go over how I set this up. The only caveat is that I don't think this will work on Windows. I tried 2 years ago, year and a half ago, to try to get a WSL, so remote containers in WSL setup working, because I just wanted to be able to work from Windows to do Linux stuff. But it did not work. I couldn't get like the double nesting, because in Windows you have a VM that runs Linux that's running the containers in it, and I just could not get VS Code to smoothly deal with that double hop. So I just run dual boot, have Linux here, and this works fantastic. I use this for all of my professional development. So if anyone's interested in that, or if not, I still may make a video on how to set up a Linux, let's call it a machine learning Dockerized environment. And I think that's, let's check my notes. Yeah, I think that's it. See you again on lesson 3.